All right, guys, good morning and welcome to episode 6 of the RDO Podcast. As always, I'm Jason Von Cannell and this is my brother and co-host Alex Von Cannell. How are you this morning, brother?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good?
Good, thank you.
Good. Mate, big week for me this week. Big week. I've been up to a lot, as much as you can be when you stay home down and get up. You can probably still hear it in my voice. We had our first full family cold this week.
Nice.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So we had to get COVID tests, which we are all negative. That's why we're doing this again today. But that's an interesting experience for anyone out there who's had a COVID test before. Have you had one before?
No, but I've watched enough tests on YouTube to know what's involved.
Yeah, so they basically stick that thing, they stick it in the back of your throat first, and then they stick it up your nose, but it feels like they literally tickle your brain.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty interesting. And I had to do it for Nate Dog as well, but I don't think they go that high because obviously his nose is already full of snot. He didn't love it, but he actually did really well, didn't cry or anything like that.
Like a champion.
So, yeah, like a champ. And he's all better now, and we're all better as a family, so that's all good.
Is it funny that, now, it seems like you're almost not allowed to have a cold?
Yeah, well, that was the interesting feeling, right? Because, so, we went to the doctors mainly for Nate, because we all knew that it was just a head cold.
Oh.
So we went to the doctors for Nate, and then obviously for safety reasons, they're like, look, because you've got an infant, we would suggest getting COVID tests just to make sure.
Yep.
But we weren't exhibiting any of the symptoms. So we didn't have fevers, we didn't have dry coughs or anything like that.
Yep.
It was just head cold stuff. So we went to the respiratory clinic, because there's a different place you had to go. And it's full on, like what they do there is pretty amazing. Like they've got someone in full, PPE at the front. They give you hand sanitizer as soon as you walk in and a face mask, so you've got to put the mask on. The doctor was great. The doctor was really, really good. Took really, really good care of us as well. Which, look, we're pretty cruisy people, but I think if you were a stress head at all, you got a 7-month-old, they're sending you for a COVID test. I reckon he's the sort of guy that would make people feel a lot more comfortable, which is pretty cool. So a good service experience. So thank you to the doctor there. And
Thank you to the nurse who's out front in full.
Yeah, we got front line, right? Front
Yeah.
line, because you're going to have people coming in there with COVID,
For
potentially.
Well, for sure. Like that's your job.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean it's pretty full on what they're doing every single day,
Mm.
and even like being in that mask for the 10 minutes we were in there,
You couldn't
it's
breathe.
hot. It's hot.
You couldn't breathe.
Yeah, well,
Was restricting your breathing.
yeah, a
Your
little bit.
liberties.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, but no, you just got to think. So that doctor's sitting there. He's wearing not only is he wearing full scrubs, but he's wearing like protective thing over the top of it and the mask. And we're just about to come into summer as well too. So things are only just going to get hotter. So look, shout out there to all the medical community. Like
It's a little bit like during the week I buffed a car,
yeah,
and obviously the rotation of the buff sends stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
So I wanted something to cover my clothes up,
Mhm.
and the only thing I could think of was a black plastic bag. I
Right.
put a hole in it and put it in.
Yeah.
And it got really hot really quickly.
yeah, yeah.
That was encroaching on my liberties.
And yeah, that's a whole nother debate right there, right? But like seriously, shout out there to anyone who's watching this who is in the medical community. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Good job.
Thank you for everything that you do for all of us, and look, for us being in Australia with a free healthcare system. This shows you how important that actually is. So when you get your tax bill and it shows you, or your tax return, it shows you where all your money gets sent to and how much it gets spent on medical. It's worth it, guys. Absolutely worth it. So because of the whole COVID thing, so like you were saying, like you feel like you can't have a cold anymore. So we've walked out and there's the shopping centre right next door, and we're like, oh, we need to grab some stuff for home. But then we're like, we just had COVID tests. Now we didn't think we had it. The doctor didn't think we had it. But like, we just had COVID tests, so we just went home.
Yeah.
Because like it's you're trying to be socially responsible at the same time as well. So but the other cool thing too is they tell you by text message not only whether or not you're COVID positive or negative, which obviously we got the text saying that we're negative. They tell you what you actually have, which is pretty cool.
Oh.
Because in the past, like
What do you have?
rhinovirus, which is the virus that gives you the common cold.
Right.
That's all it is. But it's interesting because I don't go to the doctor very often, but in the past, anytime I've had any sort of test done or something like that, the next notification you get is you need to come back in and speak to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, they're being so overwhelmed at the moment with people that, they probably don't really have time to do those face-to-face consults. But I thought it was actually a really good thing. You just get a text message, which, it tells you what you got. So it's rhinovirus, it's the virus that causes a common cold. We give you, rest, fluids, paracetamol, and, please just stay home until the symptoms subside.
Yep.
So, good service.
Yeah.
Bringing that profession into the new age too with these text messages, which I think is really, really efficient for them too.
It's a bit of an interesting week.
Yeah, so like we something to follow up on from last week was we talked about doing something positive for someone else. So obviously with the having been sick and we pretty much stayed home all week, I was trying to think of a way to do something positive for someone else, and so we did go on a walk one day, and my wife actually started this. We went for a walk, and behind us there's a school, and it's pretty bad that there's like a school with like a 7-Eleven around the corner. And there's a pretty popular walking path. So what happens is I think school kids go to 7-Eleven, get Slurpees when they got the big cups, and they just ditch them in the bush on this path. It's actually gross. Like, it's really, really bad. So we're walking through there, and she just starts picking up some rubbish. I'm like, you know what? Like, that's a positive thing that we can do. So as we walked, we just picked up every single bit of rubbish that we could see, which was bucket loads of it, really.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to start bringing bags with me next time as well, and that can be my positive thing, cleaning up my local.
It's probably worth mentioning to the school too.
Yeah, look, I've thought about it before, because it seems to go in phases as well. But
slushies are $1.
Yeah, probably. But 7-Eleven, make sure you.
That's not up to them.
Have biodegradable cups, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are. I'm assuming
not, they will not biodegrade 2,000 years.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. But then, see, that got me thinking about like my own gardening too, because I've never really had the chance to spend this much time at home before. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I can do in the garden at home, which I've never really focused on. So this week I've become obsessed with. I'm starting a compost heap, so I bought a compost bin yesterday, and I've got some garden beds which I'm going to turn into like veggie patches and stuff now too, so I can start doing a bit of stuff from home. Get a lemon tree too, so when life gives you lemons. Make your own lemon trees. So that's what I've been up to this week, is a lot of nothing and sort of future planning.
Well, I have had a ridiculously slow week on the business front. It's so quiet at the moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's because I don't have a lot of stock online that's coming through the workshop. Mm-hmm. So that'll pick up once I put the stock up.
Yep.
But I took that opportunity to go to Lakeside Raceway.
Right.
And I want to talk a little bit about the preparation. Okay. So me and a friend, we both went up, and you're not racing against each other, you're racing against the clock.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Lakeside sprints, and you're just trying to beat your personal best.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new car. I'd never driven this car before, but I knew this car was faster than the previous car that I'd taken.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I was going to go faster.
So this is the black STI.
Yeah. But the preparation, I went in advance. I connected my simulator back up. Right. In a room, so I've been on iRacing, racing.
Yeah.
I reduced the amount of alcohol I had the night before.
Smart.
The morning of.
Do they alcohol test you before you go on the track?
They can.
Okay.
They can if they think there's anything
you look like you.
Yeah. The morning before workout.
Yep.
I did like half an hour worth of stretching to try and get my head and body right before.
Yeah.
And I stayed well hydrated. I ate at a particular time so I ate lunch at like 11 o'clock for a 1 o'clock start, so everything's sort of settled.
Time to digest and settle, and have that energy hit your bloodstream.
Yeah, I put a lot of thought into it before, and I think it helped. I did go faster. I went almost 2 seconds faster than my best time around there.
Nice.
And I think my final session was faster, but I had issues with my timing equipment.
Right.
So I felt way faster. I know it was faster, but I've just got no record of it, so I've got to go with what's
recorded. So
62.6 is my new standard around there.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with that.
That's really good. So look, listening to that, prior preparation prevents poor performance.
Absolutely.
It's the 5 P's, however many P's that is.
Yeah.
Whenever you're going to do anything, preparation is key. Sports people talk about this all the time. Preparation is key. Speaking of sports, big week of sports on at the moment. Obviously, you've got NBA finals happening. So I'm a Lakers fan, right? And I never thought that we were going to actually win the championship this year. Thought maybe next year. Because we got LeBron, we got Anthony Davis, but I don't know if we've really got the pieces around us yet to do that. And the main team I was worried about was the Clippers, the LA Clippers. Now, the Clippers got beaten in Game 7 by the Nuggets this week, which is the best case scenario for us.
Yeah, okay.
So the Nuggets have been playing amazing. So the last 2 7-game series that the Nuggets have played, they've been down 3-1 in the series both times, have then won 3 straight games to not only force a Game 7 but win a Game 7. So their best player is a guy called Nikola Jokic, tall dude, the best big man in the league. He's a very good passer. And a lot of the teams don't have the size to be able to not only contend with him scoring, but also his passing game as well. The Lakers have the size. So this is probably the best case scenario for us in the Western Conference Finals. So
when does that happen?
That'll be starting tomorrow. I think it'll be the first game in that series. So that's pretty exciting. Miami Heat, I've been saying it to anyone who'll listen, which is not many people, over the last couple of weeks and months. I always thought Miami Heat were kind of the dark horses for the championship.
Yep.
And they're already up 2-0 against Boston, and Boston have just capitulated both games, which is unlike.
Well, they're saving themselves for the next.
I don't think so. So both games they went up to like between 15 and 20 point leads at one point in the game, and they just rolled over in the third quarter.
Yeah. Okay.
So Miami's that team that like they don't really have the superstars. Like they got Jimmy Butler, who is a superstar, but he doesn't need to be a superstar every night because these guys are as much of a team that you can find in the NBA, which is pretty cool. So that's exciting for me. Big UFC card on tomorrow. You can see his eyes is glazing over in his head right now because he doesn't really give a shit about this stuff. But speaking of sports, that prop that I brought in today, the Titleist hat, you mentioned before about racing, how it's not against other people, it's against the clock. Well, I brought that Titleist hat in to remind you that you lost golf last Sunday.
Yeah, and against an ugly stroke.
Yeah.
Very ugly stroke, but...
Ugly but effective.
Props to Robert. You brained it. Birdied the second hole and just remained consistently strong the whole time.
So it's funny, right? So because I got sick last week, I had to opt out of playing golf. And it was a shame that I missed out because I love playing golf with the boys and we don't do it often enough. But normally Alex and I will call each other multiple times a day, really, because something happens, we call each other, it's a 2-minute phone call and we're done. Didn't hear from you at all on Sunday. Didn't hear from you all on Monday. And I spoke to Rob on Monday and he told me about what the scores were because he lost by 4 shots too.
Yeah. 4
shots against an ugly but effective stroke.
I had 2 really bad holes.
Yeah.
And it burned me inside. It burned me inside because he played so well.
Yeah.
He played so well. So I was super respectful halfway through, and then I thought, no, I'm going to turn the wick up. I'm going to start abusing him.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Like, I'd throw the trash talk at him. He just hit this beautiful one.
Well, I did say to him too that I'm sure he was buoyed psychologically when I sent him the text saying I was out in the morning. I think he knew he had it in the bag when I wasn't going to be there.
The one thing that I'm blaming is I love to tee off first. And I teed off last on the first hole.
Right.
I love to be the first tee off. For some reason, it makes me comfortable. I think I have a psychological edge when I hit that first one well, and I pick up the tee and I turn around and I look at them in the eyes and I just think, this is it, boys. This is it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the few that was different this time.
Right. So Robbie, next time we play, tee off first.
I'll be teeing off first.
So with your golf game, did you do any preparation before you played golf? No,
because it was early and I'm coming from Brisbane down to the Gold Coast to play, so no.
Right. So you had preparation before your racing, you did well. You had no preparation before your golf,
true.
You did poorly.
Yeah, true.
So it just goes back to the preparation thing. So
there's a good contrasting example.
That's right. Now, let's get straight into the thought provoker this week because We actually had a thought provoker sent in by a viewer.
It was actually 2 people have said the same thing, asked the same thing.
Right. So essentially, the thought provoker is this. So when you're in an organisation and you're not in a position to be able to make all the decisions, and you've got ideas.
Well, tied to, I think, last episode,
Mm-hmm.
we'd kind of spoken about how to, like, good decision making. And
Yep.
But the concern from the viewers was that they would love to be able to do it, but are not in a position to do it.
Yeah.
To make change.
Yeah. So the question and the thought provoker for this week then becomes: if you are not in a position to make the change or make all the decisions, but you've got good ideas and they're not being listened to, number one, how do you get heard? And number two, how do you get these ideas actually pushed through and move
Acted on, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And we actually discussed this a fair bit this week because there have been many, many times in my career where I've been in this position where I haven't handled it as well as I should have.
Yeah. I would say 99%
Yeah.
of people in this situation are doing it ineffectively.
Yeah, and this actually, this was a really good sounding board that we actually had from each other the other day because, in my opinion, beforehand and throughout my career, it's
your response to me when I posed the question was what you're about to say.
Yeah, it was literally that I thought there was 2 pathways. The first pathway was the slow one, which is play the game in your organisation for long enough until you get into a position where you do have a seat at the table and you can make these decisions. That was number one, and unfortunately, that's a long game. That's a long play. So, if your idea is something that you want to happen straight away, might not be the most effective way. The other way that I thought that you could do it is literally, like you've used the term before, front kick your way to a position where you can actually make the decisions and make change. And I've attempted that a few times in my career too, with varying levels of success.
Yep.
Realistically, being honest, it's been a far more negative experience than a positive experience.
It's hard.
It's
hard.
really,
it's
really
hard on your
difficult.
psyche. It's hard on your physio.
It's stressful.
It's very stressful.
And we know that stress is probably one of the biggest killers for anyone because stress just makes any negative that you got happening in your system worse.
Yeah.
So now you actually were the one who threw out what's probably the best idea.
Well, I spent a lot of time thinking about it. When the messages came through, it was, I wanted some time to really think it out. And like I said in the previous one, what I try to do is find out what the end game is and then try to find a path to that end game, but I ignore any historical data.
Right.
Okay. When I phoned you, I think you went through the 2 laid paths that you have done or you have seen before. So what I try to do is go, okay, the end goal is I want someone in an organisation or myself to be able to come up with an idea and be able to express that idea in the best way possible to actually get it heard and potentially implemented. Okay, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about what is the best way to get to that. And what I came up with is, a little bit of backstory on it first. More often than not, when a good idea is stemmed from something bad that is happening.
Yeah.
So you're in a process that is not working, and then you will go to your manager and say, "Hey, this doesn't work. This sucks. Can't we do this?" So I thought, well, what's that like from the manager's point of view? We can't really do anything with that information. That's you're not going to change on the whim just because you don't like it.
Yeah, because as a manager, you might be doing this process because you've been told by your superior to do that process.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then I think the people that are really passionate about it, where you might corral the entire team into thinking your way. Doesn't this process suck? Almost like a mutiny, trying to apply pressure to management to make something happen. That's bad too.
Yeah.
Okay. Because now you're just in defense mode. Like the manager you're approaching or the decision maker is being put under duress.
Yeah, that's right.
And the natural response to that is just say, "That's how it is, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Deal with it."
Yeah, I'm the boss. Do what I say. Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, so how would I want to receive if I'm in the position of power, how would I want to receive the information to in its best light?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, we'd spoken before I started my business, I did a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
So what if somebody came to me with a well thought out, written action plan about a particular process that takes into account the idiosyncrasies that any business may have, illustrating the real and true benefit. So instead of you going, this sucks, I don't like this, we need to change it, rah rah, come up with the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And don't just say it, build it, write it down, like have a well thought out and well constructed plan, and then say to your manager, hey, do you mind if we have a moment? There's something I'd like to propose. It's in relation to this particular thing, and can we have a discussion about it?
Mm.
And actually present an action plan around that.
Yeah.
Now, that gives you something. That gives your manager something to actually take away and consider themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to ask them to make that change right then and there.
Yeah, because if you're just having a conversation with them, you're asking them to make a decision on the spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because as soon as you walk out of that room, the manager's got nothing to refer back to.
Yeah. And a lot of it can be taken as just whinging. Yeah, of course you're whinging. You're having a bad day. Yeah. So everything's going to suck.
So I think that's a really good point on that too. So to summarise what Alex is saying, and what I tend to agree with, is the best way to get your point and your idea across is to actually consider it yourself, put it down on paper, write up as concisely as you possibly can. So
with that solution,
with a solution,
not the problem,
yeah, solution based.
Solution.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's got to be solution based, not problem based. You don't want to have a presentation where it's like, this process sucks because that with no solution. I want to take a step back before you get to this point, and this is something really important. My wife actually said to me this week too, and it's so true. Before you get to the point where you're going to create your submission, I think you need to actually take a really long, hard look at yourself before you do it. And you need to ask yourself the question, why do I want this change made? Or why do I want this idea implemented? Is it just because of my ego? Do I just want to be validated?
Yep.
Is it because I am just having a bad day and this is something that annoys me?
Yep.
Is it actually a benefit to the company, to the people in the company? Does it align with the company's mission statement?
Yep.
Does it benefit everyone, or does it just benefit me?
Yeah.
Because the number one thing that you can do to completely ruin your credibility is be that guy who's constantly going to management, just going, I want you to fix this for me.
Yeah.
So this has nothing to do with anyone else in this organization or the company itself. I just want better for me.
And I think writing it down, if you came up with a proposal and if you read it back to yourself and it was only benefiting you, you'd never submit it.
No, you wouldn't.
Most people would.
Yeah, because exactly right. Because again, that there is almost a bit of career suicide, right? Because if you submit something like that, which just literally says, do this for me so my life's better, I don't care about the rest of the organisation, do you reckon you're going to get a promotion?
Mm-hmm.
No. Do you reckon they're going to promote that person who just cares about themselves?
Yeah.
No. So this goes back to what you said a couple of weeks ago about the email thing, right?
Yeah.
It's that opportunity for you to take your idea and that argument, that point of view, put it on paper so you can actually critically analyze yourself.
Yes.
To make sure it's the right thing before you proceed.
Yeah.
And if it is the right thing and it ticks those boxes, so benefits the organisation, aligns with the mission statement, is not a selfish ask, it's for the organisation as a whole, then it's actually, it's incumbent on you to do the best presentation that you possibly can to be able to get that idea pushed through and followed through.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you do want to get yourself into a decision-making position, if you can successfully come up with one of these presentations and put it forth and get something implemented, you think that's a good step in the right direction to management?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I think, again, to summarise that, what's really, really important in regards to this, number one, be your own worst critic when it comes to your ideas.
Not saying don't do them.
No, and
But
don't
criticize your own ideas before you push them to others.
Yeah, like it's the scientific method, right? The
Yeah.
scientific method has always been, here is my hypothesis, please prove me wrong.
Yeah.
So please prove, the scientists want to be proven wrong. That's how science progresses, right? So it's the same sort of thing as yourself. So put your idea down on paper, look at the pros, look at the cons, do a SWOT analysis, whatever you need to do, but hyper-analyze it, because it is a really, really important part of the process, because this can potentially set you up to have either a positive pathway or a negative pathway with not only this one particular experience, but your career as well. Because you don't want to be just seen as that person who is just a whinger, who is selfish, who doesn't have the business that holds interest at hand. Because at the end of the day, no matter what organisation you're in, if you want good opportunities in that organisation, the organisation has to be doing well. It has to thrive. Right. So you're all a part of that. So put your idea down and write it. Be hypercritical. Ask someone that you trust for feedback on it before you present it. So, whether it's someone in the organisation, outside of it. Like my wife and I, we bounce stuff off each other all the time.
Yeah, see, I'm the kind of guy that I'd bounce it 3, 4, or 5 times, and I would have it. I'd be like, does this make sense to, I'd ask Tasha, I'd ask you, I'd ask one of my colleagues, I'd try and get a big...
All right, we're back, guys. Sorry, had some brief technical difficulties there. So just to wrap that up, let's just summarize what we're talking about. Okay, so the most important things, put your ideas down in writing. Read them yourself. Be critical of yourself. Okay. Number 2, share it with people that you know and trust who are inside and outside the organisation. Inside people because they understand the organisation and are living it. Outside people because they'll have a different perspective. Make sure your idea is rock solid. Make sure it's rock solid. Make sure it's positive for you, the organisation, fits with the mission statement, aligns with the mission statement. And then make sure that you are presenting this in the best way that you possibly can. And I think at the end of it, you need to be happy and comfortable with whatever the outcome is. Because if it goes ahead, that's great. That's a really good thing. If it doesn't go ahead, there are still some positives to be brought out of that as well. Number 1, you show how much you care about the organisation and how much you know about the organisation, how it actually works. Number 2, you can sort of rest easy knowing that you gave it the absolute best possible crack that you could. And number 3, it's a skill, right? So you might need to do this again down the track, and every time you do this, you'll get better and better at it.
And there'll be some respect points that you learn. For putting that much thought and effort into something.
For sure. So again, thank you so much for that thought provoker. If you do have other things that are happening either in your organisation or outside of, or just stuff that you want us to discuss and spitball like this, please keep sending them to us, because I think especially that one there was a really, really valid one, which can be implemented no matter what you're doing. So thank you very much for that.
And if you want us to peer review your plan, find us, send it through. We're happy to look at it.
By all means, send it through. Now, just again, to follow on from something from last week, did you do something positive this week for someone else?
Yeah, so on Wednesday we went to the track day. Russell was my friend that went up. He is faster than me. His car is faster. But we really pushed each other to get the most out of each other.
Okay.
So we actually consciously... we would analyse corner speeds, apex points.
Because you guys aren't really racing each other, are you?
Not physically
It's
racing.
all about lap times.
Trying to defeat the clock. And then he said, I'll jump in behind you and I'll try and push you through. And then I sort of let him in front and we sort of critiqued each other's lines so that we could both be better, and both of us got our PB during the week. So I thought that was powerful.
That's really, really good. So, this is an example of something where you two could be competing, against each other, but instead of withholding all the information and withholding your experience to potentially get one over the other one, instead you shared your information, you shared your expertise with each other, and you both improved because of it. So it's that whole thing of iron sharpens iron. right? So, and I think that's a really positive thing. I think it's a really good lesson for people out there. Find someone who will be positive and sharpen you. Find someone that you can bounce off all the time, like we have our whole career. Find someone you trust that you can bounce off and you can have that positive influence on each other. It's a give and take thing, right? Now, as far as me, like I was saying, like we basically been sick the whole week, so I haven't really had much of an opportunity to get out there and spread some positivity.
From picking up the trash is a positive thing.
And literally, I'm going to bring a plastic bag with me every time I go on a walk now, because especially we're taking a pram and stuff like that, I can just fill it up, stick it in the pram, and hopefully make my neighbourhood a little bit nicer. But I was thinking about, because we spoke a lot about leadership last week, and I've been trying to think of positive leadership experiences I've had in my past that have sort of shaped me a little bit. And I thought of one. And this goes back to when I would have been 15 or 16 years old, and it was Australia Day, which is Nate's birthday, actually. But 15 or 16 years old, and my friends and I were drinking beers in a park, which is what you do in Australia, right? Like, so we're playing sports, playing games, having a few beers, having a barbecue. And Mum, who works for the police force, or police station, I should say, she had sort of given me the heads up that, look, there's a new sergeant that had been transferred to the mountain, and a bit of a warning. And me just being a dumb kid, I still went ahead with my plans and was drinking in the park anyway, even though this particular park is right next to the police housing where the new sergeant was living.
16-year-olds don't tend to make the best.
No, that's right. So anyway, we're all drinking, all having a good time. And then this bloke just walks down and shows up, and it's the new sergeant. And we're all thinking,
you're in trouble.
We're in the shit now.
Yeah.
And this could have gone very, very poorly. So what he did was he introduced himself to us, and then he said, "Hold on, guys, you just wait right there." And we're all thinking, I don't know.
Going to get his ticket book.
Yeah, ticket book. Is he going to go get the cronies? Is he going to go and get backup?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of us there. And no, so he went back to his place, and then he came down, and he had his lawnmower with him. And he mowed us a cricket pitch in the grass down there. And then he ended up just spending the afternoon just having a drink with us, shooting shit, getting to know us. And it was that point in time, like he's brand new to the mountain. And it's a small community, right? Very, very small community. But at that point in time, all of a sudden, there would have been 30 or 40 of us there who had his back from then on out.
Yeah. Because
he could have gone, by the book, rap on the back of their hands, you guys are in trouble, never do it again. And you're kids, man. Like, what happens when kids get given boundaries? We push them.
Yeah.
Every kid wants to push boundaries. It's just a natural thing. So instead of pigeonholing us in the law, he took the time, he invested some time in us, and it was a small amount of time, it was a couple of hours, but from that point in time, every single one of us had respect and trust for him. So, like, you'd be at a house party down the track after that, and there'd be a noise complaint put in, so he'd show up in the police car, he'd wander in, he'd say hello to everyone, and he'd go, "Hey guys, we've had a couple of noise complaints about your party, can you keep it down?"
And everyone did it.
No dramas, sir. We got you.
Yeah.
And it was such a positive leadership experience.
Yeah.
And that small town policing, I think, is it's a pretty special thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's different to what I'm sure it doesn't say that in the textbooks to do.
No,
it takes a real human side to do it, to implement it that way.
That's exactly right. But it was that moment in time where he won the hearts and minds of me and the rest of the kids that were at that party. And I think that's something that any leader, if you're in a leadership or a management position in an organisation and you've got young people working there, you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
It's about trust, and it's about showing that you're a human being as well.
Yeah.
So it's not all the rule book and black and white and by the rules every single time. Sometimes it's going, hey, let's put that aside for a second because I'm a human being, you're a human being. Let's trust each other. And let's move forward together as a team.
Let's move forward in a positive way.
Yeah. So, in summary, if you are a leader, try to win the hearts and minds of your people.
Yeah, be human. There's a human element in all of us. We are human, in fact.
Funnily that, isn't it?
We are biologically
human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, make sure you take that take that on board and use that positively.
For sure. So, look, we'll wrap it up there, but I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for the feedback, but particularly the thought provoker. If you do have things that are happening in your organisation, please throw them at us. We would love to discuss these. It actually, we had multiple conversations about this during the week, and the answer that we've come up with today was not the first answer.
Yeah.
At least not for me. Was not the first answer. So I've learned something out of it.
Yep.
And we hope that you did too. So please throw these scenarios at us, and let's work on them together as a team to see if we can all collectively improve as well.
Team human.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us again. We'll see you next RDO.
See you later.